All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about the single most common and most critical security risk on the entire web. And it's not what you think. It's not some crazy complex virus or a shadowy hacker collective. It's something way, way simpler and a whole lot more common.
So, what is it? What is this #1 vulnerability that's hiding in plain sight on the websites and apps we use every single day? Well, the answer might actually surprise you.
To really get our heads around it, let's use a little analogy. Just imagine the entire internet is one colossal building. I mean, it's massive. And every account, every private message, every single file, it's all tucked away behind a different door. Now, you'd assume every single one of those doors has a good lock, right? One that only opens for the right person with the right key. But what happens if those locks are broken? Or worse, what if they were never even installed? That, right there, is where the trouble starts.
So to understand these broken locks, we first have to understand how they're supposed to work. It all boils down to a really simple question. Who is allowed to do what?
The official name for this is access control, but don't let the technical term fool you. Think of it as the bouncer for the entire building. It's just a set of rules that decides who, which user, can do what. View a page, edit a file, delete an account. It's the fundamental security guard for pretty much everything we do online.
And when those rules aren't enforced properly or they have loopholes, you get what the security world calls broken access control. Basically, it means the bouncer is asleep on the job, and anyone can just wander into rooms where they have absolutely no business being.
Okay, so how exactly do these digital locks break? Well, it turns out attackers have a few common tricks up their sleeves, kind of like a digital burglar's toolkit for finding these weaknesses. Let's run through the top 5 ways they get in.
First up is one with a really fancy name, IDOR, which stands for Insecure Direct Object Reference. But seriously, don't let the name intimidate you. The idea behind it is incredibly simple.
And this shows you just how simple. Imagine you're on a website, and you see in the URL that your user ID is something like ID equals 101. An attacker just changes the number. They try ID equals 102, then 103. If the website isn't checking who is making the request, it'll just happily hand over someone else's private data. It's that easy.
Next, we've got privilege escalation. And this is exactly what it sounds like. A regular user finding a way to give themselves a promotion they didn't earn. It's like someone from the mailroom suddenly getting the keys to the CEO's office.
So how's that even possible? Well, sometimes a website will send hidden information back and forth to your browser, like a little tag that says role equals user. A clever attacker can intercept that message and just change it to role equals admin. If the server blindly trusts that information, well, the attacker suddenly has the keys to the kingdom.
Our third tool is called path traversal. This one is all about breaking out of the designated folder you're supposed to be in and just wandering around the server's private file system.
Now, this might look a bit technical, but the idea is simple. That // thing, it's just a command that means go up one directory. So by stringing a bunch of those together, an attacker can try to climb their way out of the public web folder and into the really sensitive parts of the server, looking for important system files.
Number 4 is maybe the most straightforward one of all, forced browsing. This isn't some complex hack. It's more like just digitally snooping around and trying doors.
And yep, it's really this simple. An attacker just starts guessing common page names. They'll literally just type things like /admin or /dashboard into the browser's address bar. And if a developer forgot to put a lock on that page because they thought, no one will ever find it, the attacker just walks right in.
And finally, we have unrestricted resource access. This is a lot like forced browsing, but instead of guessing web pages, the attacker is trying to grab specific files directly.
For example, if a website stores your invoices with a predictable name, like invoice123 PDF, an attacker can just try to guess the URL for an invoice that isn't theirs. And if the system doesn't stop to check, hey, is this person allowed to see this, it'll just hand over that sensitive document, no questions asked. Now, all of this might feel a little abstract, but these aren't just theoretical problems that live in a textbook. Let's talk about what happens when one of these unlocked doors is found on one of the biggest websites in the entire world.
50 million. Just take a second and think about that number. That's more than the entire population of many countries.
50 million is the number of Facebook accounts that were completely taken over in a massive data breach back in 2018. Attackers got their hands on access tokens, which gave them full control over all those accounts. So, what caused this absolute catastrophe? Was it some super complex, nation-state level attack? No. It was a single broken access control flaw.
To be specific, it was an iDoor vulnerability, just like the one we talked about, in the View As feature. It let an attacker generate the access keys for other users. One unlocked door led to 50 million accounts being compromised.
So, that's the scary part. How do we prevent this from happening? How do we build stronger digital walls and make sure our doors are actually locked? Thankfully, there's a very clear blueprint for how to do this right.
This blueprint really lays out the essentials. First, deny by default. That means every door starts off locked. You have to be explicitly given a key. Second, use roles. People only get keys for the rooms they absolutely need to get into. Third, and this one is critical, always enforce these checks on the server side. Never trust what's coming from a user's browser. Fourth, log and monitor everything. This helps you see if someone is rattling a bunch of doorknobs they shouldn't be. And finally, you have to actively test your own systems. You need to find the unlocked doors before the bad guys do.
And this brings us to a final, pretty sobering thought. Broken access control isn't some rare, exotic flaw. It is everywhere. It's the unlocked back door, the unguarded admin page, the key that accidentally opens more than one room. And it leaves us with one big question to chew on. How many of these unlocked doors did you walk right past completely unaware on the internet today?